A lawyer suing Post Malone claims to have photos and text messages that relate to the rapper's alleged physical abuse of his ex-girlfriend Ashlen Diaz, and he plans to show the evidence in court, RadarOnline.com has learned. According to court documents obtained by RadarOnline.com, the law firm Martorell Law dropped the bombshell in court this week. In 2022, Martorell Law sued Post Malone, real name, Ashlen Post, and his ex-girlfriend, Diaz. Diaz hired the firm to represent her in negotiations with Post for support following their 2018 breakup. The two dated for 3 years. The firm said Diaz was seeking palimony, which is a term for support paid to a partner after a split when the two were never married. Diaz agreed to pay the firm a percentage of any settlement reached with Post. In the lawsuit, Martorell Law claimed Malone convinced Diaz to drop them and work out a private deal with him. The rapper allegedly paid his ex $350,000 to settle her claims. The firm sued demanding damages for Diaz and Post, cutting it out of commissions allegedly owed. The rapper recently demanded the lawsuit be thrown out of court. He argued he had no control over Diaz. He called the claims frivolous, unreasonable, or without foundation. Diaz previously moved to dismiss the lawsuit. Now, in a newly filed motion, Martorell Law fought back against Post's claim he had no control over Diaz. They claimed Diaz told them he physically abused her during the relationship. The firm said Post pressured and coerced Defendant Diaz into dismissing her lawyer. The lawyer said Post did so in order to avoid paying a higher settlement sum, and in order to continue manipulating his victim, Defendant Diaz, using his money, power, and control over her to prevent her story from being shared with the world and to avoid near-certain litigation. Defendant Diaz, unfortunately, gave in to such duress, as victims often do, to her own detriment, separating her from legal representation she desperately needed, the motion read. The filing read, rather than face accountability, however, Defendant Post downplays his control over his ex-girlfriend, attempting to portray this action and twist this clearly wrongful behavior as somehow akin to a party trying to stifle competition. The firm asked the court for permission to amend the lawsuit to include detailed factual allegations, including images and text messages. Put simply, coercion and pressure of one's romantic partner combined with physical and emotional abuse in violation of the penal code, in an effort to deprive that person of competent legal counsel and with the knowledge that the actor is also depriving legal counsel of its attorney's fee, constitutes an independent wrongful act, the motion read. These facts were what the underlying case would have been all about, a palimony dispute wherein this pattern of abuse and imbalance of power was used to suppress Ms. Diaz literally physically and emotionally, only to leave her powerless and moneyless after he was caught red-handed on a yacht by TMZ with another woman in the midst of an alleged unfaithful tryst, the firm said. Plaintiff's counsel has, to date, avoided airing out these salacious facts based upon their professionalism and respect for the court process, but given Defendant Post's counsel's insistence within pleadings on falsely painting this case as one where Defendant Post lacked the ability to control Ms. Diaz, if the court finds it necessary for these further specific allegations and the photographic and text evidence thereof to be asserted in pleadings. The firm argued, it simply cannot be the case that one of the world's most powerful celebrities with a documented history of physical and emotional abuse towards his romantic partner uses his power and money to deprive her of legal representation and in doing so, blatantly interferes with a contingency fee agreement robbing her attorney from being paid and gets away with it scot-free. Eduardo Martorell, a lawyer at the firm, wrote, during the course of my representation of Ms. Diaz informed me that she suffered from acts of domestic abuse during her dating relationship with Defendant Post, which I now believe to be related to Ms. Diaz's breach of the contingency fee agreement. Ms. Diaz provided me with photographs and text messages with Defendant Post, and information relating to Defendant Post's abuse. He said the hard and detailed photographic and text evidence showed physical abuse within the romantic relationship and emotional abuse and control within the relationship. Further, he said the evidence showed Post leveraged his position as one of the most famous musicians in the world to ensure Ms. Diaz did not work, did not make her own money, did not celebrate certain competitive musicians, did not interact with certain men, and did not have independence. I believe that Defendant Post's previous abuse of Ms. Diaz was a driving factor in Post's coercion and pressuring of Ms. Diaz to breach the contingency fee agreement and that such duress is what led her to do so, he said. Post has yet to respond to the claims in court. The case is ongoing.